Hello, everyone, and welcome to Live Long and Pastor, where we explore new worlds of ministry, one pastor at a time. My name is Josh Ziefel. I'm the Dean of the College of Ministry at Northwest University, and our goal here is to learn more about ministry from leading pastors, like my guest today, as we talk about their ministry context, the work they're involved in, and what they've learned. And along the way, we hope that you will be invigorated, challenged, and for you pastors listening in, hopefully encouraged towards longevity in ministry as you live out Jesus' calling in your life. So that's a mouthful, but that's what we're about. And my guest today is the Reverend Dr. Wes Davis. Hi, Wes.
Hi, Josh.
How you doing?
Great. I'm doing great.
Good. It's Tuesday afternoon here, so we're going to try to keep our energy up a little bit. Wes, if you don't know, is the lead pastor, founding pastor of New Life Church in the on the Kitsap Peninsula here in the Seattle area.
Yeah.
Wes, now you have a number of different campuses that are a part of your church. How many campuses are there?
We have 5 campuses from Bainbridge Island, Paulsbo, Silverdale, Port Orchard, Bremerton, and we have a vision for 5 more.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's interesting for those of you who aren't from the Seattle area is as the crow flies, Wes is not very far from the main city of Seattle, but there is water in the way. So you have to drive all the way around or take a ferry. So it's kind of like living farther away than it really is.
No, on the emotional map, people are like, "Are you guys in the United States?" Yeah.
And they are, yeah. You can go over, but you got to really commit to going over. You can't just run over there on a whim, you know?
No, yeah.
So we're going to talk about lots of things connected to New Life and kind of the ministry God's given you, Wes. But first of all, I have a question that I ask everybody. I don't know what your answer is, but if you had to choose a fictional character to describe yourself as a pastor, somebody from television or film or books, comics, who would it be and why?
Okay, so I married a book reader who loves fiction.
Okay.
And then she married a guy that doesn't. So this is such a hard question for me.
Yeah.
But she, for whatever reasons, my wife Carrie, she feels like every Christmas, like the Christmas movie we need to watch is Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
And I think Legolas on Lord of the Rings would be a goal for mine. And he's got a little bit. I'd have to grow the hair out.
Yeah.
But that's for me. A Christmas movie is more like Die Hard. But
yeah. You don't want to be Bruce Willis, you know. You might want to be Bruce Willis, but you are Legolas.
Shoes.
Yeah, you want
to
to
wear shoes for sure. But Legolas is cool. Like I was like, that dude's cool. Yeah.
So when I used to have longer hair, my students sometimes would call me like Frodo. So I had the longer hair, or Bilbo. So we'd be together, Wes, for a little while, in Lord of the Rings there. So okay, let's talk a little bit about you. Some people listening in know you well. Other people might not know you at all. So. To start off with, you've been ministry for a number of years now. I know you're a Northwest University grad, and you've been pastoring at New Life for 25 years. But how did that all get started? Like, how do you describe, or if somebody asked you, like, what is your call to ministry, or how did that happen? What was that like for you?
No, I have a specific. I mean, I was on a mission trip, and I think sometimes it's just that you got to go, change a place, change a pace, change a perspective, right?
Yeah.
So I'm somewhere else, and honestly. There was a big thing going on in the city of London when we were there. It was there's a song called "Shine Jesus Shine" that came out, and it's make way marches and citywide prayer. And there was a big thing that one of the nights, and but they could only take a few people because for whatever reason, and the rest of us had to stay behind and do like kids ministry.
Okay,
which I didn't feel called to. I didn't do anything with kids when I was like a 16, 17-year-old basketball player. It's like. What's the big thing to go to? I should probably go to that. So I didn't get picked. I got asked to stay behind, trying to make the best of it. I was in charge of the games. They were like, we cannot trust you with the gospel message. So I was in charge of the games. We were playing keep away with a Nerf ball. And I did a fake throw to my friend. Everybody goes running after this kid, and there's a kid that had been brought in, and he was one of those kids that he was screaming. I don't know what demon possession looks like, but it's probably that.
Okay.
And even the people good at kids were scared of this kid.
Yeah.
And he stood in the corner of the room and just away from everybody. I do this fake throw. Everybody runs after my friend. I put it under my arm. I do a wheel out like I'm Russell Wilson before he betrayed us. And I come by this kid and I flip him the ball. I don't even know why I did it. But the kid grabs the ball, puts it behind his back. So the kid that everyone's scared of has the ball, and everybody else is running around. this woman comes out and goes, hey, we're going to get started for our lesson, but before we do, I want to take a photo. So she gets her camera out. So we're all sitting there. The kids come and sit with us. And right before she goes to take the photo, the kid from the side of the room starts slowly walking over like a movie.
Okay.
He comes in, sits on my lap. And when they said, say cheese, he took out the ball. And it's like he came alive the rest of the time. You know, he listened to the gospel message. At the end, they say, you know, close your eyes, you know, bow your head. But you can peek if you care, right?
Yeah.
And so I was looking, and he raised his hand to receive Christ. And it was just one of those moments. It was so cool that night. He was the last kid to go. He was screaming the same way he was screaming on the way in. But this time he's saying, I don't want to leave.
Yeah.
I remember following him out. I'm on the porch of that church. I see him going down that sidewalk, and I heard a voice that just said, this is what I'm calling you to give your life to.
Okay.
And so that's when I would say is my call. I don't know if it's a call to ministry or a call to just love Jesus.
Yeah.
But that's what I would call my call.
Okay, so you were 16 or 17, and you're in England at this event. Wow.
And at the time, I shifted at that point to I wanted to go to Northwest. At that time, I was more just honestly basketball career. Was what I was going to do. I actually,
Yeah, and then you played basketball a lot at Northwest, right?
Well, I called the coach at Northwest. I played at state of Washington at whatever our highest level is. I played state.
Yeah.
And but I'm kind of one of those kids. I don't really fit. Like I played point guard.
Okay.
I'm 6'6". I'm not that fast. I don't jump that high. I don't shoot that well. I don't even know, like, where do you project me in college, right? So I called the coach. The coach was like, I saw you play at state. You can come out, but I can't promise you a spot. And, like, this was a small Christian college that won 3 games in 2 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I did make All-American that year. So I did make the team. Turns out there was a spot for me.
Yeah.
But I actually, when I got on campus, there was a new coach.
Okay.
And the new coach called me into the gym, asked me to shoot a shot, and I actually shot an air ball 3 times. That's how my career started, 3 air balls. And then he asked me to play his friend. Well, his friend was a Seattle Seahawk. I mean, he went by me and flushed it. I mean, just like, whoa. But we played, and I'm 6'6", I can handle the ball, so I beat him. And so we just kept playing. He's like, I just kept beating him.
Yeah.
And then the coach was like, so then he's like, come to the gym tomorrow. And he did something that no one ever done with me. He taught me the 2-foot shot. And so if you watch Steph Curry, you know, just the way that the shot is just a flick of the wrist. It's not a push. It's just letting that come off your. So he taught me how to shoot with actually a flick of the wrist, which turns out it's almost like where Jesus said that my yoke is easy, my burden's light. It just felt so easy.
Yeah.
And so for 1 week, I shot 2-foot shots. I couldn't shoot any further. And then he moved me out. Well, so the first game that I played in at Northwest, I hit my first 5 threes. It didn't just, in the first half, it didn't just change my career. It actually changed my life.
Yeah.
But it's kind of where my passion, Josh, comes from of working with young leaders.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to do the 2-foot shots. Because I know the difference it can make when somebody spends the time to change not just the fundamental, but what you believe is possible about yourself.
Yeah. So you're here at Northwest. Obviously, you're playing ball. Are you a ministry major, a Bible major? What are you studying here at Northwest then?
So I wanted to go into ministry, but I took Bible because I felt like that's something that's not going to change. And at the time, it felt like ministry techniques were changing quite a bit.
Yeah, yeah.
So I did a major in Bible, a minor in pastoral ministries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been like the mid-'90s or so, around that time?
Thank you for saying that. I was there from 89 to 93.
Early 90s. Okay, yeah. All right. Well, yeah, it was a little while ago. I was in college a little while ago, too, so, you know. I
mean, MC Hammer, come
on. Bill Clinton was newly elected president, all that kind of stuff, yeah.
Vanilla Ice, all the stuff. All the great stuff, yeah.
That's classic. Okay, so after Northwest, tell us about your ministry career kind of leading up to when you stepped into Plant New Life.
Yeah, so you know, one of the last games I played in, a pastor came up to me and said, hey, we're looking for a basketball coach to be a youth pastor. And I was like, that sounds like a great job. So I drove out there with my fiance at the time, Carrie, now, you know, married 30-some years. And we drove out there, and she was an education major. They needed a 3rd grade school teacher.
Yeah.
I grew up at Life Center Tacoma. My grandma was Fulton's first secretary. My parents grew up there as kids, and then my mom's grandpa on G Street. So in my head, every church is like Life Center, probably on TV. I go there, and I'm like, okay, this is different, right?
Uh-huh.
And so the first year I was there, Josh, the first year I'm there, the pastor that I loved died in a tragic accident.
Okay.
The interim pastor split the church. The new pastor got voted down. And I get a phone call from my home church to like, hey, why don't you come back? And I was like, I want to leave, right? So I didn't end up going because every time I prayed, I felt like God said, I did not say for you to go.
Yeah.
So we stayed there 5 years. I'm glad I did because
Yeah.
one of the people in my first basketball teams and first youth groups was a guy by the name of Dr. Jeremy Johnson.
Okay. Who is our new president here at Northwest University? Yeah.
So
Wow.
I'm actually look back and go, I was pretty glad I stayed. Yep.
Wow. So, obviously, you've been married for 30 some years. You planted New Life 25 years ago. So, not too after a certain number of years after Northwest, you stepped out to plant New Life. What was the process like for that? And the reason I keep saying 25 years is I know as we're recording this, just like last Sunday, like 2 days ago, or you had a big 25-year celebration for the anniversary of the church. So, I'm sure there are a lot of stories behind that, but briefly, like what led you to, and then how did you how did you end up planting New Life where you did, when you did, and how you did?
Sure. So I spent 5 years in Idaho,
Mm-hmm.
North Idaho. Got a phone call to go to the Kitsap Peninsula. Did not know where it was.
Yeah.
So I lived 30 minutes from the house I grew up in Tacoma. I'd never been out here.
Okay.
There's 300,000 people in our county. Never heard of it. Sorry, no idea where it's at. And so I get a phone call. We came out to a great church. It's called Gateway Fellowship. One of my best friends, Jeffrey Portman's the pastor now.
Yeah.
And so I was a youth pastor there for 7 years at a church that had a decades and decades of history of loving young people.
Yeah.
So I came into a place where they were on a down, but they were so the whole church was wanting to love young people. And so we had an experience where the youth ministry blew up in the city. I mean, we were on the front page of the newspaper, and we had so much favor, and the whole church got behind it. And students from Northwest were coming back and forth on the ferry twice a week just to be a part of it. And so I was having time in my life. During that time, the pastor of the church called me in his office halfway through my time there and said, we want to start a new church for people who aren't going to church. Would you and your wife pray about starting it? And so Carrie and I, we actually prayed for a no, didn't hear it. And so because we were asked by leadership, we said we would do it, but I wanted to stay on as youth pastor.
Yeah.
And so I did both for about 3 more years, and you just couldn't do it. I mean, they were just couldn't do it. So October 1st, 2000, we launched this church, but in March of 2004, we launched out as a sovereign church.
Okay.
Moved to Silverdale.
Yeah.
And that's where we started the vision of, multi-campus, live preachers, apprenticeship model, all that stuff.
So let's see, 2004 or so, was the multi-campus still a new concept back then for churches, or had it been around a little while?
Yeah, I was in Singapore in 2002.
Okay.
And I think there were a couple churches doing multi-site, but didn't have language yet for it.
Yeah.
And in 2002, I'm in Singapore. It's funny is I got asked, someone heard me preach at Northwest.
Okay.
And their dad pastored a church in Singapore. And then he assumed, because my last name is Davis, that I was Denny Davis's son. And Denny Davis was former president. I ran for ASB president. My slogan was, "This college is big enough for 2 President Davises."
That's good.
Yeah, really good line. And so, anyways, I get this phone call one day, and it's like, "Hey, I'm a pastor from Singapore. We've heard about you. Would you come out and preach at our church?" And I was like, "Wes from Silverdale. Of course you've heard of me, right?"
Yeah.
So I go out there. It's a church of 5,000 or 6,000 people. They're translating into Mandarin the stuff that you're doing. I was like, "Oh my gosh." And while I was there, because Singapore is a nation, city, state, right? They build up, and they just don't want to get a ton of land to churches. A church that I was there, they didn't have room for everybody, so they met in 8 different districts with live preachers everywhere.
Yeah.
I sat in my hotel room and I wrote down. So if you know the Kitsap Peninsula, we're a bunch of micro communities. So Tacoma's I get there's the east side of Tacoma and there's North End and whatever, but this is you can drive 15 minutes in Kitsap and be in a different state.
Yeah.
So Bainbridge voted 85% Democrat in the last election. Okay, so I'm in Silverdale. We have 3 military bases, so we're protecting all of America, and you're welcome.
Yeah.
You go down to South Kitsap, there are Montana. They still haven't heard of COVID. Nobody told them. So you can imagine what COVID was like when we were trying to
Yeah, I believe that.
navigate. But yeah, so I just saw these micro communities with live pastors and teams, and so we started that. Our first one was in 2006.
Yeah.
And so we've launched some that have become sovereign churches. So we've launched overall 9 different campuses and
Okay.
churches, but
Yeah.
5 have stayed as part of like our model. And somewhere along the way, you're like, maybe we need to build systems, apparently.
Yeah.
And so, kids and youth and discipleship and all that stuff. Yeah.
So one of the things that I noticed on social media, especially this past weekend, as you guys were celebrating the 25 years, and also if you go right to your website, you will see this front and center is the phrase "people becoming the church," which is significant. But I would love to hear from your background. First of all, has that always been a part of the sort of the DNA of New Life? And whether or not it has, how does that operate functionally in how you pastor and how you lead and how the church works?
So 2003 is when we came up with the slogan, "People becoming the church."
Yeah.
And the reason why I don't know if you know the name Dan Sertall, but he was on our team and he's a friend of mine and he's a mentor for a lot of people. And so Dan, I'm out of this whole like, hey, what leadership book are you reading? And it's like everything's leadership books, right?
Yeah.
I don't even think we knew the word spiritual formation. I mean, that's for people who can't lead, apparently. And so we were just leadership book. And I remember saying to the team, like, what's the next leadership book that we should read? And Dan said, what if we read the Gospel of Luke? And I mean, I wasn't being sarcastic. I literally was like, well, let's give it a shot.
Yeah.
And so that started our team reading. So we've been reading the scriptures together since 2003.
Wow.
Word by word, line by line. And so that year, as we were reading through the Gospel of Luke, we see that Jesus took a group of people, and that's who became the church.
Yeah.
And so then I started thinking, where in the Bible does the word church refer to a building, a business, or a religious institution? So nowhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere the Bible says it's the body of Christ. So
Yeah.
so that's where we just said it's people that are on a mission with Jesus becoming. So part of that too is that we really believe when we launched the church in as a sovereign church in 2004.
Yeah.
My wife and I, we sold our house, bought a house, and had a baby in the same month. And our baby was a preemie. We were in the University of Washington Medical Center. I didn't know it's touch and go with both the baby and the mom.
Okay.
So you're like walking the halls, you don't even know what day it is, and you're like, we got a new church. Like, is this church even going to make it?
Yeah.
I'm sure I need counseling, all that stuff. And people had to jump in because I wasn't there. And so what we said from the beginning, it's not going to be staff becoming the church or pastors becoming the church, but people. It's the tax collectors and the fishermen. It's the people. My dad worked at a grocery store, but he thought he was in ministry. He's probably the best evangelist I ever met was my dad. And so I think we can't have 2 tiers of pastors or our ministers. And so how do we empower? And so according to Scripture, I think the job of pastors is to equip people for ministry. So that's how it guides our philosophy.
Yeah. Do you does that philosophy, like, how do you see, are there certain areas where you see that philosophy really implemented strongly in some of the systems or some of the structures that have been built?
Well, I mean, I'm going to say, this is not, again, there's like, theologically, I just don't know who could disagree that people are the church. Okay, right? But then there are convictions in how you live it out that I think there's room, depending on your culture.
Yeah.
So I'm in the Kitsap Peninsula, Pacific Northwest. So people came out here to get away from organized religion. I mean, they're just, people here call me Wes or Coach. I'm not offended when people call me by my name.
Yeah.
So we don't have like a high church culture.
Yeah.
We don't have a high title culture. But then again, if I was in a different place or maybe we were in a different setting, I might change that. But that's a conviction of how it's lived out.
Yeah.
So we have a culture in which people in the church can like send us what they feel God is saying to them.
Yeah.
And some of our greatest ideas have come from the body, not from a bunch of pastors on a spiritual retreat.
Yeah.
And I can go through what some of those are, but you're like, yeah.
Well, that's, I mean, it's always good to hear. I mean, I know that idea has been a part, and I didn't realize it was quite that long, but a part of New Life's theology, philosophy, mission for a long time. And so, sorry, my phone was ringing there. so just to kind of get a sense of like what that looks like in your actual daily practice. I mean, it's great to see.
Well,
And
here's one of them is, so when we started, we didn't own anything, Josh. I mean, we had 3 music stands. I
Yeah.
spray painted New Life on them so no one would steal them. And we didn't have offices, so you like kind of just go to a coffee shop, work a little bit. But so for 15 years, I volunteered at the high school as a basketball coach. And so people are like, how do you get on campus? I'm like, well, they gave me a key. For the last 11 years, I've been reading with 3rd graders. And so we have a program where we send our people in our church going as volunteers to Central Kitsap schools. There's about 300 kids below reading level in our school district, and they have reading mentors from our church.
Okay,
And
wow.
so our goal is to help 3rd graders pass through the 3rd grade national reading exam.
Yeah.
So that's, to me, how it guides is you can't tell your people their everyday life is on mission if you're like, but what I do is I go to an office and I just never interact with the community. You're like, well, I mean, you need to have a space where you study and you can get away, but like, how are you part of the fabric of the community?
Yeah. So actually that kind of sets up my next question, which one question I like to ask pastors. So Kevin Gear tells this story about when he goes, you've probably heard this before, when he went to Kalispell at first, he went to the local Starbucks and he asked the barista, he said, hey, I'm new to town. Where should I go to church? And she said, well, you can go any church, but not, and she named the church that was his, you know, and he actually told a story. I think she came to church like recently and maybe has gotten saved. So there's a whole backstory to that too, but
she's actually their kids pastor now.
Wow.
No, I made that up.
Like, okay, well, that would be great.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah. So like, now, 25 years later, 25 years in or so, if I were to go over to Silverdale, if I was to go over to Bainbridge Island, if I were to go over to where your main campus is and kind of walk around and be like, hey, I'm new in town, I might want to go to church, what's the story with New Life? How would people in your community describe New Life?
Well, I mean, I have the aspiration. I do think this. I think the senior pastors probably have the worst perspective.
Nobody tells you the truth.
I mean, right. I mean, I think there's a whole thing on attunement where like the more power you have, the worse your perspective.
Yeah.
But here's what I would hope. And here's things I've heard other people say is that's the church that's involved in the community.
Okay.
So, we're the ones that host the special needs prom.
Yeah.
We're the ones that, every nonprofit we feature in our church that we think because we don't start things, what we do is we send resources and people. Most of our pastors volunteer somewhere in either the sports community or somewhere in the leadership community.
Yeah.
Some of our young leaders have been recognized. Like I was one of the 40 under 40 way back when in Kitsap.
Yeah.
David Day leads our CK campus. He's been a 40 under 40. Jenny Waldron's been a 40 under 40. A lot of our pastors have been recognized by the community as community leaders. So I think they would say that's the truth. Like, when something happens in the community, they call us. So just recently, this is a couple years ago, for the first time in over 20 years, a bond didn't pass in Central Kitsap for schools.
Okay.
And, so superintendent of schools called and said, hey, Wes, would you sit down with us and talk about why? And I mean, part of it is they had done their sex education in a way that it felt unsafe for certain like conservative parents.
Okay.
And, instead of asking them to opt their kids out, I said, why don't you make parents opt their kids into it? That way that their kid doesn't unexpectedly show up to a training that the parents don't want.
Yeah.
They made that little adjustment, and then they get the bond pass. So, that's the kind of relationship we want to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's very helpful to see, and it makes sense with that context there. So I also know that you are just coming back from a sabbatical. This past summer. It was actually funny. So my wife and I were in Paris at one point, and I think Wes is in Paris too. So I texted her, and you're like, oh yeah. So we were in England afterwards too. So I think we were like all over the place there.
Yeah, we're following you.
Yeah, exactly. Except I only had 2 weeks. You had a number of months. So sabbatical is much more of a common thing for lead pastors and senior leaders today. Have you been on a sabbatical before? Is this your first? This is your first sabbatical?
Yeah, I think people would have said that. Like, I'm from a blue collar family.
Yeah.
So like the sabbatical is like, I just trying to explain it to my family, be like, hey, the church is going to pay me, and I'm just not going to work.
Yeah, that's about right.
That would I would just be so. So I didn't think I probably if you'd asked me 5 years ago, I'd be like I probably will never take one.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
always take all my vacation,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, one of the things. Well, I mean, obviously I did because I started to. I think one of my mentors says you have two levers. You have support and you have challenge,
Yeah.
and so they need to be kind of level with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but when your support level gets lower than your challenge level, that distance is called destructive stress.
Okay.
And so during
Yeah.
COVID, for most pastors, did their challenge go up or down?
Oh, it went way up.
And did their support go up or down?
Way down.
Okay, so I experienced destructive stress in a way that I had not before.
Okay.
And it started to impact my body.
Okay.
I didn't, the way my dad processed emotions was he would just go into the back room, shut the door. So I think I'd just been doing that for about 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
And turns out that's not healthy on your body. I thought it was my body. Turns out it was my emotions.
Yeah.
And so I had a bunch of just decades of unprocessed emotion. I was actually at a conference, and it happened to me twice, so it scared me. I'm at a conference, and I'm having to leave because I'm experiencing. I would just call it an episode where my body's shaking and I can't make it stop.
Mm.
And so you go to the doctors. They're like, "I'm sorry, dude, you're healthy."
Yeah.
And so went to counseling. Never been counseling. Counseling sounded awful. Like, hey, how would you like to talk about the worst stuff in your life and then pay somebody money? I was like, I don't want to do either one.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't like either one of those. Best thing I ever done.
Mm-hmm.
The people I was with, I actually was with two people.
Mm-hmm.
So it felt like community. And one's a retired missionary. And we get on there and we have this moment where he looked at me and I looked at him like, do we know each other? And the Assemblies of God has a program called Speed of Light where youth groups raise money to buy vans for missionaries. Our youth group bought him as a missionary. So it was just like, this is a God. It was, I think, day 4 where I just had a moment where I wrote down, Josh, 12 difficult, unprocessed moments in ministry.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about none of them. And we actually ended up talking about my childhood, which I had great parents, great church, a lot of support. But, something happened to me when I was 9.
Mm.
And I was like, it was like the 4th day. And all of a sudden I felt something right here in my soul of like, I think I'm experiencing what's called healing. And so here's what's interesting is, so we do that.
Yeah.
The next day I come in, they're like, what do you want to talk about in ministry? I go, I don't think I need to. And they said, we don't think you need to either. The rest of my counseling was about getting me ready. And I took each one of my children, adult kids, on a trip. I said, pick anywhere. Where do you want to go? Just me and you. So each of my adult kids on my sabbatical got to go on a trip with me.
Okay.
And I went to my wife and said, what do you want to do? And she goes, well, I don't want to go somewhere in America. We're going to Paris. We're going to France. Okay. And then we did spend the last 2 weeks in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And what happened was, it was just so filling and refreshing. And and so I came back to the church, and somebody said, do you just feel like you're on fire? And I'm like, not at all. I just feel so calm. And I think before I was feeling so much challenge that I was always felt like I had to be fiery and challenge everybody.
Yeah.
And here's what I've noticed is all I do almost every day as I wake up, one is I feel all my emotions in real time. I used to never. I wake up every day and I go like, man, I just really like who I'm becoming. Mm-hmm. I just feel super connected to my children, to their families, and to my wife. And I walk around thinking, how can I support our team? Like, what do they need?
Yeah.
I would have never thought of that. They've never crossed my mind. How do I support them? What are you talking about? We're paying you money.
Yeah.
So I don't know what post-sabbatical Wes is going to be like, but like now I'm like, geez, everybody needs support.
Yeah.
Everybody needs care. Let's take care of the people who take care of us.
Mm-hmm. How long was the season of sabbatical for you?
13 weeks.
13 weeks. Okay.
Yeah, and by the way, so Gear, you mentioned him. Kevin Gear went on sabbatical the summer before.
Okay.
So I spoke for him twice,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then when I went on mine, because he was just like, you need this. And I'm like, I don't need this. You need this. And then we did the whole, you need this.
Yep.
And but when he came back, I realized, okay, so this was good. So I did it. And so he actually started my sabbatical. He preached at my church twice.
Uh-huh.
And he did it when I came back. and he worked with our team, and he actually was on my sabbatical team to help make sure I'm refreshed. And there's this group of pastors. They just like, hey, we're going to make sure that you have a pastor while you're on sabbatical. And it's part of be a part of a network, be a part of a tribe. Come on, right? We're all human beings.
Yeah. So sounds like you're a big fan of the sabbatical now. What would you say?
Right.
I mean, it sounds like you would say do it to any pastors that haven't, but would you give any advice for sabbatical, approaching it, or?
Yeah. When I first drew up, so I drew up the plans for Wes's sabbatical.
Yeah.
And I drew it up of like, what would a spiritual person do that's really spiritual and have a spiritual, like really super duper spiritual? And I gave it to first of all, I gave it to one of our pastors on staff that's been with me over 20 years. And I gave it to one of our elders, and they both said the same thing. They're like, man, this just doesn't look fun at all.
I'm going to fast every day, and I'm going to wear itchy clothes.
And one of them said to me, what would you do that sounds refreshing? And then the other person said, what would you do with your kids that sounds fun? And when I thought about, I would want to take each kid on a trip. Oh my gosh, that was like, I'll have that memory my whole life, and so will they.
Wow. Yeah.
So what sounds refreshing?
Yeah.
We're different. I don't think anyone should do every person I talk to that had been on sabbatical, they just basically say, hey, the sabbatical I did, you should do it. And you're like, well, maybe some of it, but I just think a better question is what would be refreshing and what would connect you deeper to the people that you're going to love your whole life.
Yeah. So one of the things you said just a minute ago, you said you don't know exactly what post-sabbatical Wes is going to be like. But if you had to guess, or if you had to say, like, maybe you're not on fire, maybe you're not ready to challenge everybody, but like, you're back now, and at some point you kick back in the gear of leading an organization, leading this church, and you're looking ahead to the future. Are there some things that are energizing to you, things that you're looking forward to in this next year or this next few years?
Well, so we cast a vision before I went on sabbatical, and that's not been a problem for me. Like what does the future look like? So we called it. I read a book called The Bridges of God. It's from the 50s.
Okay.
And it was a study of indigenous people groups and where there's been Jesus movements. And what they found was that people didn't come to Jesus one by one.
Okay. Yeah.
People groups came to Jesus. The missionaries built bridges. Bridges of God. And I thought about that, and I thought, Great Commission, doesn't it say all nations? Isn't that the word? I mean, Josh, come on, you're at it. People groups, right?
Yeah.
You're at Bible college.
Yeah.
And so we cast a vision for, as a church, what would it look like for us to build the bridges of God here? And so you have to give it some shape. We call it 10-10-1. But we want to be a church with 10 over the next 10 years, 10 campuses, 10,000 people, giving $1 million away every year.
Yeah.
And so that's part of we just feel like, why would God give us resource for ourselves? And so we want to be this compassionate, generous, gospel-preaching, Jesus-centered, on the mission, people becoming the church, body of people. And so I came back and I told the team, I don't have a different vision. We're going to do the one that we said we're going to do.
Yeah.
And so I feel more focused. I used to, pre-sabbatical Wes would have a new idea every day.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to have a new idea every day. We have a vision. Where my brain goes to is how to support the people who want to go after this vision with us.
Yeah.
And what do they need for empowerment, equipping, and training, apprenticeship? If you followed me in sabbatical, you notice I did something that I hadn't done in 40 years, and that's draw.
Yes, I think I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I hadn't drawn in 40 years. I only drew because my daughter at Disneyland asked me to take the animation class with her.
Okay.
And what I found is, it was way more fun than journaling. And so there's something about drawing in me that was calming. And so it was, so I think giving my brain a place to go to, instead of always trying to what's a new idea? What's a new idea? What's a new idea? What's a new idea? People can't move on stuff that fast. And so we have this 10-10-1 vision. We have 11 bridges that we want to build in Kitsap. Yeah. The military is a big bridge. that we have to build. Schools is a big bridge. Actually, the three loneliest people in America are number one, moms of littles. If you can do so we want to do that indoor. Right behind me, we'd build it out on the back facing the Y. 20,000 members behind me at the Y.
Okay.
So we would build an indoor kids play area facing the Y. And so the target would be, and of course, men and women, but a lot of it's going to be moms of littles.
Yeah.
The second loneliest group's young adults. So we launched a Sunday night that is a heavily focused, but not a young adult only ministry because they need generations.
Yeah.
They need mentors. And then the third is empty nesters, and it's my age group. And so that's the age group that their church participation is going down. The younger generation is going up.
Yeah,
and it
that's
just almost feels like it feels like you're displaced. Like if I'm an empty nester, like why would I go to church? So we want to make sure that we're answering that question for people. But so more of it is just we already have the vision of the 10-10-1, the 11 bridges. So now let's build the bridges. And I like to read history. So I read like David McCullough has the Great Bridge and the story of how to connect Manhattan with Brooklyn. And what did it take and how did they do it? And the stakeholders that they took to the three different places and what they learned. And people have a hard time envisioning or dreaming about something they've never seen. So all that stuff.
Well, the thing about bridges, right, is before it's built, it seems just insurmountable. It just seems like an impossible barrier. But then like something like the Brooklyn Bridge or whatever, like it just seems like it's always been there and it just seems so natural and it's so easy. It's just like,
In the Pacific Northwest, you have, and you referenced the drive around to Kitsap. You'd have to go over the Narrows Bridge.
Yeah.
So as you go over the Narrows Bridge from where you're at, if you look to your right up the hill, those houses, that was my paper route as a kid.
Okay.
So there are 41 bridges in Kitsap. If you live in the state of Washington, you know bridges because we have so much water. Kitsap is it's like massive amount of water coastline.
Yeah.
And so the word bridges is contextualized to our area. It makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
And so when you talk about bridges, people like the guy who was the head person on the Hood Canal Bridge goes to our church. So when I talk about the bridges of God, they already have the image.
Yeah.
They understand it in the gap. And then when you talk about a bridge building God, and that the gospel is that there was a gap, but there wasn't always a gap. And then there's like, we cannot build that bridge, that actually God had to build that bridge. That's Jesus. So it just makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, no, and it is contextual and it's just a rich metaphor that I think will,
at least 10 years. We're gonna
carries the weight
years.
for at least 10 years. So,
Yeah, and if I get bored and I need a new idea, I just take the pencil out and I just start drawing.
Yeah. So you've been a lead pastor of a church for 25 years now. Probably you've been thinking back with the celebration of 25 years and all of this. What is one of the most unexpected things that you have learned as a pastor in your life?
Great question. So it was early. I got asked to start a church, so this was not my dream.
Yeah.
My dream job was youth pastor. Like, best job I ever had was a youth pastor. I'm still trying to get it back.
Yeah.
Was asked to do it. So, didn't hear no, so we're doing it. And then we're going to do a church for people who don't go to church. And what we found out is a lot of the people were not going to church on purpose.
Yeah.
And so they weren't going to come because we put out some cool signs. And so I said to one of my mentors, I was like, what do we do?
Yeah.
And he was like, well, he said, what if you asked them?
Okay.
I was like, that is just fascinating. Never thought about that.
All right.
I was like, how would I do that? And he's like, what if you just did something that you love to do, but it puts you around people who don't go to church? And honestly, at the time, I was so busy with church stuff, I wasn't playing basketball.
Yeah, okay.
So I was like, okay. So I start playing basketball again. And I end up meeting this guy, and he's a live center. Didn't go to church. I knew he was a live center because he swore a ton. Didn't go to church. Didn't wear church, knee pads. And so after one of the times of playing ball, he was like, want to get breakfast? I was like, yeah, I want to get breakfast. So we're at breakfast. He's like, what do you do? And I was like, I'm a pastor. And his face turned white. And I was like, what do you mean? Why the reaction? He goes he literally said, I've been trying to get away from people like you.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, why? We're great people. And he said, I'll never forget this. He said, you Christians think you're right about everything. And I just remember sitting there going because we are. That's what makes this so awkward is we are right. And what ended up happening was a friendship.
Yeah.
And in the process, I began to see the church through his eyes.
Yeah.
And for him, he's not like, how do you do church better? He's not thinking about going to church.
Yeah.
It's like he had his own hopes and dreams and fears. And when I connected to those, then he would say, oh, so then that would be a church for me. And so that began to shape how we thought about that. Jesus was not sitting in a synagogue hoping people would show up.
Yeah.
He took disciples on a mission.
Uh-huh.
He took them out among the people. And I just say to pastors all the time, what would you do that you love to do that would put you around people? And most pastors are just not around people. I mean,
Yeah.
they are when they come to the gathering.
Yeah.
But like, and a lot of them go like, man, I just miss, I used to play in an orchestra or a band, or I would do art, or like, man, I'd love to play like pickleball. I think you are wired to love something. And
Yeah.
when you do it, it puts you around people that need Jesus.
Wow. Yeah. That's a good word. You know, it's the professional religious people amongst us like you and me. I mean, it can be easy to get into sort of this box where we're only around each other, and that's, yeah.
Yeah, and then you're like, you tell everybody, hey, bring your friends so we can tell them about Jesus.
Yeah, you bring your
This is
friends.
like-
Yeah. Okay. 2 more questions. One is, let's see. All right. If you have an opportunity, and you've had an opportunity to speak before a few different, I mean, your church is a large audience. You have an opportunity probably at different conferences to speak to people. But if you had a room, even a stadium, of 10,000 pastors, and I gave you like 60 seconds to say something to them. 10,000 pastors here in the United States, you have 60 seconds to say something to them. What would you want to say?
Man, what a great question. Man, I have 60 seconds. I have 10,000 pastors. I mean, I think I think the thing because of where I'm coming out of right now, Josh, it's probably different. Is when I went to counseling, I was wanting to. You know how you have adult kids that maybe make decisions that you wouldn't.
Okay.
And so I was like wanting to connect with my son in a deeper way. Because we talk sports all the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, so I asked the counselor, like, how do I do that? What questions should I ask? He goes, well, maybe don't come with a bunch of questions because they might feel like interrogated.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, what do I do? And he's like, what if you just made it safe or safer for them to share if they wanted? And I'm like, well, what if they don't share? I'm spending the money to go on a trip. And then he said, what if that's not the goal? And I just thought, that's weird. He said, what if the goal was just to understand his heart? I think the question I would ask them is just take the people that are the closest to you and ask this question. Do they think that you understand their heart? Because if you can connect to the people who are closest to you, then you can be connected to other people in a deeper way. But how can you connect to people that you hardly see if you're disconnected from the people that you're with every single day?
Yeah. I'm going to receive that as a personal word to me as well. So just know that. I'm going to have to sit and unpack that. Yeah.
That's post-sabbatical West. Well, I mean, think about it. Is you know, how would you connect deeply with all of these people? But like, these are the people that you're I mean, they're the ones that are going to be around your bed when you die. And if they feel disconnected from you, and what I noticed is this is when the people, and that's the thing, my son, when he felt when I understood his heart, he just shared everything.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I just think that's, you know, somehow I think it would help us in our ministries. It's hard. Pastoring's hard. And being in it for a long time is hard. But what's really hard is to be in it for a really long time and be disconnected from yourself. Mm-hmm. So, that's my 60 seconds. It'll change next year.
Wow. Well, that's a good 60 seconds. Wes, obviously you didn't know everything we're going to talk about today. We've talked about a few different things. Any final thoughts? Anything you would like to add as we kind of close out today that you maybe felt like I was going to ask but I didn't, or you'd like to put in? I should have asked but didn't. You know?
No. Oh gosh, I don't know. I don't usually think like that. I just feel really honored to be on this, Josh. Thank you. I probably think about this is the thing I think about is when God goes to introduce himself to humanity, he calls himself a God of generations.
Yeah.
I'm the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob.
Yeah.
And I believe that God is best reflected in a body that is multi-generational.
Okay.
And that the gospel spreads from one generation to the next. So if you ever start to feel a little stuck in life, I think it could be that God is calling Elijah after arrest to go and find an Elisha and to invest their life into the next generation. And I would say that Jesus did that in John 14:12. My disciples will do the same things I'm doing. That's apprenticeship, which in Kitsap, that's the first job at the shipyard. You're an apprentice.
Yeah.
The same thing I'm doing and even greater works, greater works. So as a lead pastor, do I believe that the team I'm leading will do greater things? Or is my goal to train them so they can be a great number two for me?
Yeah.
And then Jesus said, because I'm going to be with the Father. And can we as leaders create enough space for the people who work with us? Because the people we apprentice will never grow into their full potential in our shadow. So I just think get unstuck, invest in another generation, do the work with them, but believe greater things.
Yeah.
And create the space they need to blossom. So that would be my final thing I always say.
There it is. Wes, let's say some people listen and they're like, I like what that guy has. Where can we learn more about you on the internet? I'll put the website for New Life on the show notes. Anything else? Or?
Sure. Well, I mean, there's two books I've written. One's called Jesus Apprentice, and the other one's called People Becoming the Church.
Okay.
And just go to Amazon. You can pick those up.
Great.
And as far as like our YouTube is New Life, actually, People Becoming the Church.
Okay.
And I mean, would love to, if somebody wants to reach out, our heartbeat is actually apprenticeship. Our heartbeat is to share resources. People have given to us freely, so I'd love to give it away. If you want to do a kids camp with bunch of kids in your community, get the whole church involved. I love kids.
Awesome. Well, I'll make sure to put some of that in the notes for the show when it comes out so people have it. Wes, thanks so much for being with me today. Appreciate it.
Live long and pastor.
Live long and pastor.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.